The Resistance Wins and Kamala's back. Let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First of all, thanks to everybody who watches, likes, shares the videos, particularly to people who subscribe to the channel. That really helps the algorithm. And to anybody that's donated, I very much appreciate that. And because of those donations, I've ordered, I think, 4 or 5 new tarot decks that we can add into the rotation. It's going to take a while for them to get here, but hopefully the first will start arriving sometime next week. The voting for that, even though it's Sunday, I just went ahead and ordered the 3 tarot decks from the voting. So um, thank you to everybody that participated in that. All right, so the I'm recording this on Sunday evening. The German elections have pretty much been called, and the AfD party, the far right party, well, did well. They got about 21% of the vote, somewhere around there. Of course, these numbers will probably change as they finish counting. Um, they're not going to be part of any governing majority, which was predicted by the other readings that we have done. So we'll look into how that plays. And then also, uh, Emmanuel Macron from France released a statement um, saying something to the effect of Zelensky was fairly elected, Putin was not. We stand with the person who was fairly elected. And the incoming German chancellor, if the coalitions go the way that it's projected, said something to the effect of the meddling in the German elections by Elon Musk and by Trump's government were no less egregious than the meddling by Russia. So the resistance is spreading, and let's look into that. But first, let's look at Vice President Harris. She gave a speech yesterday, Saturday, at the NAACP, and it was a somewhat of a rallying cry, but it was also just a very sober look at where we're at. And one of the quotes from her speech that I thought was particularly um, impactful was our power comes from never having an easy path. So our power comes from never having an easy path. And, I think about that in my personal life and my decades of existence. And I think that's very true. I think we learn a lot from the trying times. It's just at those times, it's really hard to deal with. And I know a lot of the community is there. These are hard times. It's hard to get a good grasp. So, uh, probably about 2 weeks ago, a member of the community asked for a 6-month overview on Vice President Harris, and I had it on my list of to read on topics. And I thought, well, this speech kind of inspired that. And I thought we'd also take a 6-month overview of the resistance movement and see if we can't get an idea of what's going on there. And then we can clarify and ask other questions if needed. So can you show us what the next 6 months, March through August, we'll just include the last part of February in with March. You show us Kamala Harris over the next 6 months. Kamala Harris, the former Vice President of the United States. She's planning. I can see her sitting at a desk, and it's clearly late in the evening because there's like a single lamp on, and the rest of the room is dark. So she's working hard. I don't know. I've always suspected that one of 3 things is going to happen, and maybe this is obvious because it's probably the only 3 possibilities. One, she's going to form some sort of action group that goes around and helps elect Democrats. Two, she runs for governor of California. And three, she runs for president of the United States in 2028. Although she could run for governor and theoretically run for president, where she would win because that governor's race would be in 2026. So, can you please show us Vice President Harris with the next? There should be the Hierophant in the water. I wonder if she's not going to help bring some legal cases against the felon in the White House's administrations. She certainly has the support and the money. We get the Nine of Pentacles. This is the card that kind of means having everything that you possibly need to move forward. So this is for the month of March and the last part of February. We get the Nine of Pentacles. She's up for the fight, and in April, the fighting's going to start. This obviously isn't physical fighting. This is just some sort of I'm in it to win it type energy is what I'm feeling. And that starts in April. And then in May, some messages coming forward about money. This might be her announcing a run for office. It could also just be her announcing an action committee helping people raise money that are running for office on the Democratic side. It could be one or both of those things. I think she's still slightly undecided on what she's going to do, but that will be in May. In June, we get Temperance. And so this is, moderation, trying to bring some sort of sanity to the picture. And that is happening in, I guess, June. We have some bombshells and surprises in July. This isn't surprising. July, I think, in general, is going to be kind of an explosive month. It's about halfway between the eclipses. And it just has always felt that way when I was doing the terrascopes, that July is kind of a big month. And then here in August, we get the Four of Pentacles. This is about stability, but it's also about the money coming in. So whatever she's choosing to do, she's not going to have a problem raising money. The money's going to be coming in. So, and although, 6 months is a long time, it's going to seem like it's going very quickly with the Eight of Wands. Her energy is going to feel very fast paced. She's going to have like a sense of urgency about her. And if you listen to the speech that she gave at the NAACP, you will realize that that was really about the urgency of this moment. And that's what I think the Eight of Wands is coming around as there. Okay, so let's clarify these with another set of cards. So if you didn't watch the other 6 month overviews, I used 5 decks and threw 6 cards from each deck and then um, looked at them month by month. Okay, so show us what is Kamala Harris, former Vice President of the United States. Show us the next 6 months. It really feels like this is like a preparatory step into whatever her long-term plan is. And we might not get a sense of what that long-term plan is until the summer months and maybe not even until the fall. Let's see what the cards can tell us. Kamala Harris, the vice president, former vice president. The Hierophant makes a lot of sense now. She's going to be making the argument. Like if you were arguing before a judge, she's going to be making the argument not just for the resistance movement, but in general to the public about the dangers of what's going on. And I think she's still quite very popular, certainly amongst Democrats. Okay, so Marshall the King of Pentacles, this is the card for the felon in the White House. So she has everything she needs to bring him down in the sense of exposing the lunacy for exactly what it is. What's the fighting about? The fighting about it is about the magician. This is the card for Elon Musk. The fighting is about this Doge group and all the things they're doing and why it doesn't really fit with a democracy and why these powers really aren't for um, a single person to have. So she has everything she needs to take on the felon, and she's ready for the fight against Musk. Why some messages coming in, and she's got circles of support and celebrations around her. People are going to see her in a new light. They're going to see her like as a breath of fresh air. The election process was so short for her that people really didn't um, get her in some sense. Like they didn't get to hear her and her completeness. Now, people on this channel are probably, political junkies and we watch the news a lot and we probably paid attention to the campaign rallies and we certainly watched the debate. That's not the case. The average person that come up to me and randomly talk to me, it doesn't feel like they know what's going on at all. It feels like they're just very uninformed. So this is, let's see, March, April, May, June, we get the Three of Swords. This could be heartache, setbacks. It could also not pertain to her energy at all. It could pertain to somebody else's energy around her. And maybe she brings the moderation and compared to the people that are acting rationally and causing chaos. Then we get the card for the voters, the Four of Wands. This was always my card for the voters when I was reading on the election. Now, I didn't start a YouTube channel until after the election, but this was the card that represented the voters. So we have bombshells and surprises, and then we get the voters. So this might be, she might announce something in in July. We get the Ace of Cups, so surprising new beginning um in August. So, and that's supported by a lot of money coming in. So we might hear something exciting. And then circles of support around monies underneath with the Three of Pentacles. So it could be a pretty interesting time. Actually, all 6 months seem very interesting. Okay. This card flew out. The judgment card, now, this to me, this is like the rallying cry. So in the actual judgment card, it's the archangel blowing the horn to raise the dead, right? It's a wake up call to people that haven't been paying attention. And I think she might bring that along with surprising new beginnings. It's, the felon in the White House's approval rating is dropping. And you have to be careful about which polls you look at. And, if you know anything about polling, you should know that one poll really doesn't mean anything. You should look at a bunch of them or ignore them all, one of the two. So, but the better polling firms have shut his approval rating underwater, which isn't surprising. Um, people from the rural states are upset. over farm subsidies being cut off. People in education are upset over grants being cut off. You know, it's just a wild ride. There's only three park rangers I read. I don't know that I buy everything that I necessarily read. Only three park rangers for Yosemite. That's what I read. I don't know if that doesn't, I hope that's not accurate, but if it is, you could see why people are starting to get upset. The one thing that really makes Americans mad in a government shutdown is not being able to go to the national parks and it ruining their vacation. So, can you show us Kamala Harris, the former vice president of the United States, over the next 6 months? I'm getting like this, like in the water, it's like I don't know how to describe the image necessarily, but it just feels like energy and the energy's growing. Kind of looks like a candle flame sort of, but it's getting bigger. So I think the energy is growing around her as she proceeds through these next 6 months. Even if it's just for her to be a spokesperson against what's going on. And the Democrats desperately need a spokesperson. Now, Jasmine Crockett and AOC, these might appear as well as spokespeople. So, okay, well, this is one to come out again. So, surprising new beginnings in March in relationship to everything she has. She has everything she needs to take on the felon, and there's gonna be some surprises around that. She has the strength to deal with Elon Musk in that battle. New partnerships forming in May, yeah, May, right? February, March, no, March, April, May, yeah. New partnerships forming in May around an offer coming in. So with that three of swords, so we get the nine of swords. So some anxiety. This okay, this kind of makes sense now. So we have temperance, right? And then we have the three of swords, which can be heartache. And then we have the nine of swords, which is sleepless nights and anxiety. It's kind of like, you know, she's giving off this message of moderation and temperance, which is not hard to be moderate compared to the crazy that's going on now. And it's like her heart is racing with anticipation of announcing something. We'll see, but it's causing some anxiety, which would be normal. July, things happen quickly, so we have bombshell surprises, the voters, news coming in quickly with the Eight of Wands. And then we have the Six of Swords moving away from troubled waters or traveling. And underneath, we have burdens. So she's going to take on a role that she's going to be lifting a lot for the country and the average person. It kind of feels a lot like she's going to be in the national spotlight, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Okay, can you show us Kamala Harris, the former Vice President of the United States, over the next 6 months? Yeah, I see her studying, like, looks like in a library or maybe an elementary school reading to young kids. It's like she's going to be in the public eye. she's going to keep a very visible presence. And I think that all started after the speech at the NAACP. We hadn't really heard too much from her, and I think that was intentional. I think she needed to rest after everything everybody's been through. We need to take care of ourselves first, for sure. Always a good message. Okay, so something unknown or some dark kind of energy going on in the background in March with the high priestess. Just because it's dark energy doesn't mean it's not positive, though. It just means it's in the back. It can't be seen. We get the King of Cups. This is the card for the Democrats in April, and that's underneath the Strength card. We get the Ten of Pentacles in May. So sometimes the card for inheritance. It's also the card of wealth. It also represents intergenerational relationships and looking out for the next generation. It also can represent an end to a cycle. And that would kind of match some of the health readings. We were getting the Ten of Pentacles a lot for the felon. And certainly, whatever action she's taking, if something happens to the felon, that's going to change the course of how things proceed. In June, we get the Page of Wands. So again, a message coming. It's a passionate one, and it's going to come quite quickly. We have partnerships again, the Two of Cups in the month of July. And then we get the Ten of Swords in August. This is an end of a very dark cycle. It also could represent complete and utter downfall. I don't think that's what it represents in this particular reading. I think it just represents an end of a very dark cycle. And that makes a lot of sense with it clarifying the Six of Swords, which is moving away from troubled waters. So we're moving away from something, presumably the felon, and that's the end to this really dark cycle that we're all experiencing. And underneath, we have like the Nine of Wands. So she's going to proceed cautiously. She's not going to just um, jump into things without thinking them through. Okay, so this was the before tarot, the Gilded Tarot, the Rider Waite Tarot, the Light Seers Tarot, and this is the after tarot. Kamala Harris, former Vice President of the United States, over the next 6 months. And then we'll see if there are any questions we want to verify. I've seen her stepchildren. No, if it's just for a photo op, maybe. So we get movement with the Chariot. This was my card. If you watched any of the Epstein readings, this is also the card for trafficking. Obviously, I do not think the vice president is doing any of that, but that like things unknown about the felon and this seem to kind of fit a theme. We get pausing and suspension, a change of perspective in the month of April. And we get the Knight of Cups, a message coming forward about partnerships. We get the Ace of Pentacles, in June. So some sort of new beginning, a new financial bounty, perhaps. Um, this could be, a fundraising for whatever things she's going into. We get the moon card, things coming to the surface. This is starting to make a lot of sense to me. Then we get the Five of Wands. Again, this is about fighting. And then here they're preparing for the fight because or the fight's already happened because it's the after tarot. Okay. And then juggling money, overseas money in particular, which I think applies to the felon. So the felon's fitting into this reading quite a bit, which makes a lot of sense. So in February, the former vice president has everything that she needs to take on the felon. And it comes to some sort of surprising new beginning. It might be a surprising new beginning for her, like a rise in popularity. There's something that we can't see. There's something going on in the background that we can't see yet. And it has to do with movement or trafficking. And that could be in regards to the film for entertainment purposes only, clearly. And then in April, we get preparing for the conflict with who? With Elon Musk. She's got the strength to do it. She's got the backing of the Democrats to take it on. And it's going to gain a new perspective for the citizenry. So people are going to view this administration, and particularly Elon Musk and the felon, differently after April in particular. In May, we get a message coming forward about money. We get circles of support and celebrations, new partnerships forming. We get the card for, vast amounts of money. It's also the inheritance card. So it could possibly deal with the felon, but it could just deal with her being able to know that she's got a fundraising network and a message coming forward. In June, we have temperance, so moderation. Uh, we have this heartache card. I think this is heartache for the country or for a particular person. This could be a heart attack in the White House, perhaps for entertainment purposes only, which leads to a lot of anxiety. Now, you might ask, why would that lead to anxiety for the Vice President Harris? Well, if she were going to announce a run for political office again so early, this might make her rethink when she should announce, right? Some people might think it's, a bit tasteless to announce something after someone's experienced, a life-changing event or a life-ending event. So, and then we get a passionate message does come forward, and we get new beginnings around money. This could also be a new leader. Did that backwards. Okay. Now in July, we have bombshells and surprises. And I think this is for the country. Just something's very shocking has happened either in June, July, or May, and it's like still reverberating. It has to deal with it's going to affect the voters and their perception. It's going to happen quickly. There's going to be like a change, a very quick change. And new partnerships are going to form and things are going to come to the surface that we didn't know about before. So that could be, again, in relationship to, you know, the change in leadership that I think is coming. I could be wrong. certainly been wrong before. Um, she offers stability economically. People view her as a stable economic figure. People are willing to give her money, put their faith in her. We get a surprising new beginning, something we weren't expecting. And it feels like we're moving out of trouble and that it's an end of a dark cycle and that the battle kind of has been won. That's the energies. Exactly how they translate, we'll probably have to wait and see just a little bit. But that's what I'm seeing for the vice president. So it's going to be an interesting 6 months for sure. So the German elections happened, um, and the Conservative Party won, but not the ultra right wing party. They didn't win. So I think there's some hope there that because of the coalition they're going to have to form, like they're probably going to have to bring in some pretty liberal parties like the Greens party, that the that the governing won't be quite as uh, extreme. And I think already just with some statements from the European leaders about the statements from the felon in regards to Ukraine, I think it's pretty clear that they're not wanting to go along with this, absurdity. This is just a Palo Santo stick to kind of cleanse the energy a little bit. Okay, so let's see about the resistance. Now, the reason why I think the German election goes with the resistance is because we're starting to see the resistance form not just in the States, but also around Europe and Australia, even as well, where, leaders are just like, this guy's crazy. We're not going along with that. Like he praises Putin. He basically said, Ukraine started the war, which we know is not true. In the United States, we've seen people confronting their Congress people. And I had made a post in the community section here with that app, Five Calls, I think is what it's called, where it gives you the phone numbers to your congressmen and your two senators. And it also gives you a script where you can just call and read a script on the issues that are most important to you just to get the message across. These things have an effect. You know, years ago when uh, I lived in Oklahoma, I had called Senator Lankford about an issue. It wasn't anything in particular, it had to do with taxes. He was unaware about it, returned my phone call, and the law, I think, did eventually get changed. It had to do with a certain deduction that you couldn't get if you were filing separately, which affects couples that were one person has student loans and the other person doesn't, kind of things like that. Anyhow, you know, that's what they're there for. Now, Republican representatives give me very little faith, but if enough people are calling and they aren't used to getting that influx of calls, and the lines are constantly busy and they're constantly being flooded, they know there's that energy out there. And I was talking with a friend the other day, and it's like the energy feels kind of like it felt in 2009 when the Tea Party started to rise up. Now, the energy is completely different in what the goal is, but the amount of energy there feels the same. And if you remember back then, Democrats had all three chambers, or had the House, the Senate, and the White House. And I think in the House in 2010, the Democrats lost like 63 seats, something really crazy. So Republican House members are in particular going to be more amenable to making sure that they're serving their constituents, especially if they think they're going to lose elections. We have the special elections coming up in April. I mean, I think there's a small chance that the Democrats could win the sixth district in Florida. I don't think the first district will be in play. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see that. I don't think the sixth district will actually go to the Democrats, but I think it's worth fighting for it. I think it'll be fairly close, within 5 points or something. It'll surprise people how close it is, because it shouldn't be in a normal election. Okay, so the resistance. Show us the resistance movement over the next 6 months. We need to know about the resistance movement. See the picture of Mark Cuban. I don't think he'll be the face of the resistance movement, but I think he'll be supportive of it. And I did a reading on whether he'd run for president or not. Kind of got mixed answers there. A lot of people don't want to see him run just because he's a billionaire, and that reminds them of the felon. And I get that. I wasn't advocating a position one way or another on whether he should or shouldn't. It was just, if you follow his feeds on Twitter and Blue Sky, it's kind of like you can see him getting ready to really be more engaged than he had been before. So show us the resistance movement over the next 6 months. Yeah, I'm seeing the Six of Wands, which is a great sign. And I had saw that when I was meditating before doing this reading, which is about victory. And it feels like it's going to start happening soon. I think I had mentioned in some previous videos that I had seen the shift happening after there was a new pope. I'm not wishing ill upon Pope Francis, but he is currently in the hospital as of this recording with, needing oxygen and having some slight kidney failure. So my sense is if he makes it through this battle, it's probably only a few more months, but he might not make it through. And I think, you can have your opinions one way or another on the Pope, but for a Pope, I think he's been pretty good for the world. Not great, but good. At least he wasn't spouting, you know, homophobic bigotry as much as some of the other popes in the past. Although, it's the resistance movement over the next 6 months. And again, we're including the last part of February into March. So let's just see the Empress card. It feels like, so the Empress card is my card for Russia. It feels like whatever craziness the felon is talking about with Putin just spurs on the resistance to happen faster. That's what it feels like. We get bombshells and surprises in March with the Page of Cups. New partnerships forming. This could be new partnerships with, people like Mark Cuban, with people like Michael Bloomberg that have the money to help spur these things on. Excuse me. And while we might have disagreements politically with a lot of these people and maybe not even particularly like them, It's going to take money. And the best thing, or the worst thing, is what I meant to say. The worst thing that can happen to the resistance movement is if it gets pulled apart by small differences. So the big picture is what I'm getting that we need to focus on because there are going to be these people coming into that movement and people are going to say bad things about them, but it's not going to be of help, right? I'm not saying we go out and we nominate Mike Bloomberg for president. I think that'd be a terrible idea. What I'm saying is if he's willing to give money to help elect Democrats, we should take the money. That's what I'm saying. I see that happening and that being a problem. Okay, it's March, April, May, we get the Eight of Cups, walking away from something that no longer serves us. And I think that is kind of what is coming forward is the resistance starts to like partner with people that they wouldn't have partnered with before. We get the King of Swords. This is consistency, leadership, truth telling. We get the Three of Swords again. That's interesting. It doesn't feel like it has to do with the resistance. It feels like it has to do with an event in the country that in June, July, May, June, July happens. It could be around a death of somebody. That's what it feels like. I don't think that's going to unite the country. What I think it is going to do is it's going to spark that attitude that happens when there's like school shootings and the Republicans will come out and say it's too early to talk about gun control. It'll be like, well, it's too early to talk about everything that the felon was doing that was horrible. And the resistance movement is going to feel like perhaps that's true. And then we get a surprising new beginning. So I feel like that's after the felon has exited. And I think at that point that we get the Queen of Cups underneath. Ironically, this is my card for the Vice President Harris when she was running. Yeah. And so it feels like the resistance is going to go through, needing to keep their eye on the prize. That could be a possible diversion and not get involved in arguing minute details, but rather arguing big points. So it sounds a little preachy, but it's not. It's just what I'm hearing. So I could see, it's kind of like Bill Clinton speaking at the DNC that made some people happy, it made some people angry. The truth was, if Bill Clinton changed the votes in South Georgia to help elect the vice president, you know, is that so bad? It's like, kind of purity might be tested. Resistance movement over the next 6 months. I feel like we're gonna see the Six of Wands over here soon. Not that it's a complete victory, but I think it's like a victory because the crazy is gonna stop. And the crazy is the felon. I don't think JD Vance will be a good president whatsoever. But I don't think JD Vance would be, smooching up to Putin and trying to steal minerals from Ukraine. I could be wrong. So we get the world card. This is the end of something in the beginning of something new. And I think we're already seeing that happen. We have bombshells and surprises. Something shocking happens and it ends something and it starts something anew for the resistance. This is probably the same thing that's going on with the vice president in her reading. We get the Four of Cups. We're being handed a gift. That's what I see in this illustration. The cup is coming from nowhere. What cup is it? It's the Ace of Cups. So we're being handed that cup. There's a lot of cups in this reading. So the resistance gets handed a cup. Okay, judgment comes. And if you remember the illustration in the Rider-Waite Tarot, it's the angel blowing the horn and waking the dead. It's the same here. It's just a little bit harder to see because of the blue background, but there's people rising from the dead and from the clouds, coming up through the clouds. It's like the feeling is it may, people are going to be awoken to the resistance. People are going to start joining it. People are going to start participating. This could be for a variety of reasons. Okay, here's the Empress card. It might be about Russia. It might be something that Russia does that the felon praises, or something comes out about the relationship between the felon and Putin, or something comes out about how Russia interfered in the elections, or how Russia was behind funding Hamas, or something along those lines that really changes people's perspective on the situation and starts to realize, and people that are soft supporters of the felon, like I wouldn't even call them supporters, they just voted for him um because they made a choice. But those people in particular, they might be coming across to join the resistance, even if only in the polling. If it might only show in the polling, they might actually not be doing the heavy lifting. And remember the quote from the vice president, that our power comes from never having an easy path. So this isn't going to be some sort of easy movement. It's going to take effort. It's going to take protests. It's going to take marches. It's going to take calling congressmen. It's going to take all of those efforts. And that's what this card is about, the Ace of Wands. It's about passion. It's about the beginning of something really big, something that's very passion oriented, something we're very passionate about. And then we get juggling money, and particularly overseas money. Wouldn't be surprising at all if something tries to divide the resistance movement. In particular, if it's, Russia. How do they do it? They do it with overseas money. What do? They spread, misinformation about people that are helping the resistance, whether that be people like Mark Cuban or Mike Bloomberg, or Bill Gates, or somebody that has a lot of money that just starts to give money. I don't think it'd be Bill Gates, by the way. But just was an example of somebody with an insane amount of money that could potentially help, but also be divisive at the same time. We get the full card underneath. So a lot of new energy, a lot of let's start that. The world card ends the major arcana, the full card starts it. So something ends and something's starting really fresh with the full card. So let's keep going. What can you tell us about the resistance? This wanted to come out again. The Chariot card. Every time I see this card in a political reading, it just makes me feel like it's about trafficking for entertainment purposes only. This could be the trafficking of immigrants. This could be the trafficking of migrants, the deportations, people getting looped up into that. Uh, I've thought about reading more on that, but I don't know if people will be interested in hearing that because it's pretty dark. We also get things coming forward very quickly. So let's put those back in here. It might be, something about the way There was a video of that horrible CPAC conference where people that were participating in it were dressed up as ICE agents, and they said, "Oh, it's fun to go around the towns and scare the immigrants." And I just like, really? I just That's crazy. Bombshells and surprises. Show us the resistance over the next 6 months. Giving this message of the resistance has to stick together. They're going to try to divide us. They're going to do it through mis and disinformation. The, the devil card, which is about misinformation, breaking through that fog. Things coming forward very quickly to start with in March. The Eight of Cups again, walking away from something that no longer serves us. This might just be as simple as like turning our backs on people that support the felon. Now, I think a lot of people have already done that, but there are people in mixed families. I hear that in messages that you guys in the comments that you post. I read all of them about, my husband's brainwashed into the to believing everything the felon says. It might be not like actually physically walking away, but just blocking that energy out and focusing on what needs to be done or what you can do in your small part. It's going to be weary going. There's going to be a lot of fear about proceeding with this, in particular when it comes to the protests and marches. And I see them happening around this time. So this is May, maybe even a little bit earlier, especially young kids. There's going to be a lot of fear around doing it because they're going to try to demonize people and call them rioters, right? They don't demonize the people who invaded the Capitol, but the people assembling peacefully will be. A message coming forward. Again, a lot of cups energy, a lot of play on emotions. Here's the devil card. It makes a lot of sense. This is about mis and disinformation. This is going to be the tactic used to divide the resistance. What's it underneath? It's underneath the Three of Swords and the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands is that passionate new beginning, but it's only going to happen if we can resist the devil energy and stay united. And then we get strength in August. So there's like a steady build of momentum happening. Here's the card for the voters underneath. It's also sometimes the marriage card. So this could be two different groups, kind of disparate groups coming together, you know. Okay, can you show us the resistance? This almost just feels like it's like the devil card is like, Twitter on steroids. It's what it feels like. It's like going to be social media warfare is the only word I can think of. Like there's just going to be so much disinformation, and it's going to be aimed to divide the resistance. So it's not going to be obvious that that's what the goal is. So, you know, Reminds me of the time before the inauguration when people were yelling at me on YouTube in the comments because I said the felon was going to be inaugurated. Well, that's what I saw, is the felon being inaugurated. That's the type of division that I'm talking about that we need to avoid. We're both on the same side. The people that were hopeful that Vice President Harris was still going to be sworn into office, and the people like me who said the felon was going to be inaugurated, we share the same views. So we shouldn't be on opposite sides. So, excuse me, the disinformation is going to be subtle like that. It's going to pit us against each other. So we need to watch out for that. But if we do, we're going to come out with a lot of strength. What's the resistance over the next 6 months? I think we'll see the Six of Wands. It feels like it's over in this area. Might see the Death card too. That's the energy. It's almost the same energy with respect to the resistance movement. The Empress card again in March. So this is the card for Russia, and I think in this context it is Russia. The things that the felon's doing with Russia is helping to build the momentum. It's helping to change people's viewpoints on the felon. Also, tariffs and that sort of stuff, that's going to take its effect too. It's going to give people a new perspective with the hanged man. It's going to make people pause that voted for him and say, is this really what I voted for? Did I vote for Elon Musk to fire a whole bunch of federal employees? So much so that, now it's 7 months later and I still haven't got my new passport. It's like that kind of feeling. It's like the inevitability of knowing that government isn't going to be functioning in the ways that it had been before. The devil card again, this three major arcanas in a row from this deck. They're going to try to divide the resistance through mis and disinformation. And it's going to be subtle. It's not going to be obvious. It might be, as simple as, you know, arguing over whether the felon should be called a sexual assaulter, right? Or who he sexually assaulted. It might be people that are on the same side that they're trying to, I mean, it is going to be people on the same side that they're trying to divide. It's going to be really subtle. So watch out for that. And let's not fight if we're on the same side. Circles of support coming together around money. I have a feeling that's going to be one of the divisive parts of this is when money starts to come in to fund the resistance and to fund Democrats running in the next election, and it's coming from billionaires. I feel like that might create some division. Okay, and then we get wish fulfillment. This is kind of like that Six of Wands energy in June, July. So things sort of come together and we have that aha moment. And we get the Six of Pentacles, the giving and receiving of money, also looking out for the next generation. And again, there's going to be a lot of fear as we go through this process, a lot of weariness. On which side of the fence do we stand? So be prepared for the devil energy. So I think for me personally, this is why I started this channel was to convey this to this. But you need stuff about the devil, not the devil energy. The overarching theme, though, is this they're going to try to divide us, but it's not going to work. I took a look at that at the end. Wow. The resistance movement. Six. You card for the voters again. It's all about it's four of wands. You get the three of swords. This is the after tarot. The wound has been inflicted already. The swords have already fallen through the heart, and now it's being bandaged up. That's how we feel as a group, as people who supported the Vice President Harris in the election. We feel wounded. We're starting to get patched up, and we're ready to go. And come early spring into the summer months, we'll be there. We'll be at a crossroads. The Two of Swords. Again, deceit and trickery is going to be part of their way of fighting with the resistance. So this is the Seven of Swords. It's, the card of deceit, thief. It's kind of similar to the Devil card, but a minor arcana card. Here's the Death card. I was fairly confident that was going to come out. This is going to be the thing that changes everything and starts us anew and brings the resistance completely together and helps to start the process of moving away from the danger. And here we have stability around money, but the death card is behind us. This is people worrying about their finances, which is also fulfilling recruitment efforts, and so to speak, recruitment efforts into the resistance. And we have the King of Swords underneath, consistent and steady leadership. And we want that. We don't have it. So let's recap. And then I think we need to ask some clarifying questions. So in March, we have bombshells and surprises. We get the world card, the end of a cycle. So bombshells, surprises, this ends the way people look at things. Then things start to change quickly. New information is coming out about Russia, or might not even be new. It might just be another realization about the stuff that's already there. And it affects the voters. It affects the everyday people. So in April, we get new partnerships forming, being handed a gift. This feels like people jumping into the resistance movement that has money. That's what it feels like to me. And walking away from things that no longer serve us. This feels like us kind of leaving our pride on the back burner and accepting money from billionaires, for example, something along those lines, maybe not exactly that. Changing our perspective, pausing and suspending, and healing what has been broken, which is us. In May, again, walking away from things that don't serve us, a rallying cry, the angel blowing the horn to wake the dead, the rallying cry to wake the uninformed, the people that don't really know what's going on. There'll be a lot of fear in joining the resistance, but people will do it. We have to watch out for the devil energy. We have to watch out for them trying to divide us and make it feel like, and make it stop feeling like it's a choice. We're going to be at a very firm crossroads of, do you want the current administration to keep going, or do you want a change? Okay, so June we get uh, the King of Swords, consistent leadership. We get again something coming out about Russia with the Empress cards. We get a message coming forward. We get the Three of Pentacles. This is new partnerships around money and deceit and trickery. And I really feel like when money enters the picture and the resistance, that this creates a little bit of an angst, but we shouldn't let it. You know, anybody that wants to defeat this felon and that ideology, I think we need to let them help us. We get the Three of Swords. Again, this could be potential heartache. This could be somebody having a heart attack or about to have a heart attack. This could deal with the felon's health. We get a passionate new start, passionate new leadership. Again, mis and disinformation is going to be the challenge. We got to stick away from that. And we get wish fulfillment. It's going to happen as long as we don't fall for the mis and disinformation that's trying to divide the resistance. And it will be subtle. It'll be very subtle. That's coming through very clearly that the mis and disinformation will look like it's coming from one liberal group arguing with another liberal group, but it's not. It's coming from Russia or some other source. And then we get the death card, the end of something and the beginning of something new, rebirth. Also could be physical death for the felon. In August, we get the Ace of Cups, surprising new beginnings, surprising results, maybe things finally starting to be effective and people really changing their mind. What are they changing their minds about? They're changing their minds about things that went on overseas, about foreign influence. And we have the strength to win. And we have to think about the next generation. We also have to be willing to take money from sources that maybe we didn't want to before. And um, we have some sort of stability around money, but death is in the background. So, like a very fragile economy, which might fuel the resistance. I think we should ask the just straight up question, does the resistance win? And if so, how long will it take? It's just like very big. So the big thing that, and I keep hearing it in my ear, it's very, very clear that they will do everything they can to divide the resistance and it will be subtle. It won't be like dividing us over whether we believe in getting the measles vaccine. It won't be that. It'll be more subtle than even that. Uh, Okay, so let's just see if we can't get more on this. Okay, so will the resistance movement, the movement to oppose the ideology of the current occupant of the White House, will it be successful? Resistance. I'm seeing the leader of France and the perhaps new leader of Germany, assuming things go the way the media is projecting, playing a role in helping people to understand how dangerous what is going on is. And that might have been a little bit what that Two of Pentacles was about, like listening. It's about, juggling money, sometimes overseas money, but it could also be about juggling advice, overseas advice, people feeling like, should we be listening to other leaders of other countries? And, the answer to that kind of depends on which country and what they're saying. I mean, not, there's no straightforward answer there. Totally resistant movement. Be successful. Seeing like in the water like the thing that goes on top of a Christmas tree, like that kind of starry shape with like lights in the middle. So maybe around Christmas, maybe it doesn't take that long, but resistance, or maybe that just means the star. It could be like the star hope. Stay hopeful. Resistance will not be successful. Yeah, for sure. So we get the Ace of Cups. It's a new beginning for the country, and in a surprising way. The challenge, though, is kind of the news. Chasing the chasing every story down is going to be the challenge. We don't need to do that. We just need to be united in the fact that we don't like this ideology, and every little nuanced thing can't be debated. Well, that's not what I mean. That's not exactly what I mean. It's like we can't be distracted with little stories when there's this big picture, right? With the King of Wands, fiery new leadership, I feel this might be a Democrat announcing they're running for president with the King of Wands. It could be somebody like the vice president. Also, could be somebody like Pete Buttigieg. It could be somebody um, like Raphael Warnock. Although we'd have to look when he's up for reelection in the Senate. We get wish fulfillment, and we get the lovers. So forming new partnerships, and it might be uncomfortable new partnerships to achieve the goal. And yeah, in the near term outcome, we get the King of Swords. We get consistency, steadiness, a sense of calm in the near future. We get death and rebirth. So it might be a death that actually starts the rebirth. You know, I've done a couple readings on that. That might be the actual thing. It's very consistent. Anytime, I read on the felon's health, he gets something akin to the death card, if not the death card. We get celebrations coming together, the Four of Wands. We get the Hermit card and the hopes and fears, shedding a light, being a beacon of hope. That's what this almost feels like. It reminds me, I just heard the George W. Bush, not H.W. Bush, the older Bush, um, that thousand points of the light on a hill. It's like that shining city on a hill. We're going to view, that's the hope that we view the country that way again, or something similar. Here's the star of hope. That the star in the water makes a lot more sense now. There's a lot of hope out there. And it's a great yes card. The world, the end of a cycle. It can't be any more clear. And again, the beginning of something new, in particular financial freedom. So the resistance is going to win. It might take some time. And like the vice president said at the NAACP, our power comes from us never having an easy path. I think that's important to remember. We have stability underneath. We're going to get rid of Elon Musk. Judgment's going to happen. People are going to hear us. The uh, uninformed will become informed, raising the dead, right? The analogy along those lines. All right. So hang in there. It's going to happen. It's just going to take some time and it's going to take a lot of hard work. So, and money. Not personal money, but there's going to be money coming into the situation. I think that's what's going to divide some people. Tom Steyer came to mind. Anyhow, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and yeah, comment. Thanks.